Office designer.
Yeah.
What does an office designer do? Tell me.
Um, I would say like a really good office designer cares
Mm,
about the aesthetic and the function.
mhm,
I think the function is the key thing. Like occasionally you go in office space, you're like, oh, it looks amazing. Like a lot of people doing it's kind of boring, but tea points or kitchens,
mhm,
and rather than do the cabinets, they're doing shelving. But you're like, there's 60 people in your office. That
mhm,
means you need 60 mugs, 60 glasses, like plates, cupboards, and where's it all going? It's like
mhm,
it looks aesthetically good, but it's not been thought about really.
mhm,
And then you turn up a month later after they move in, and cereal boxes are out, people's protein is out on show, and you're like, doesn't even look good anymore.
mm,
So I'd say like a good office designer does both like aesthetic and function. Then there's other things like adjacencies in terms of like who works where, what the journey is, and all of those things. So a good office designer does all of those things. Make sure the office works on every single level. I think the big thing for us is always thinking about journey, like what's your office journey and who should it be for? Is it for investors and clients, or is it for staff and retention and attraction? Like, let's think about that journey every step of the
mhm,
way, because that will dictate where the T point is, what the T point should do. Like the breakout area, big or small. Like, once you know those questions about the journey and how you want it to look, feel, and be experienced, it becomes easy. So I think with our designers, we're always focusing on like those big questions, like what's the journey here? Like, what experience do you want to create? And then on top of that, making sure the function is always good.
mhm.
There's no point in having a meeting room that acoustically is awful. There's no point in having a podcast room that, the acoustics are awful. Like, those things really, really matter too. Whereas I would say sometimes the balance is imbalance in terms of function and aesthetic in workplaces. So a good office designer does both.
Mhm. And at what point should we hire an office designer to help?
I mean, it's a good question. Obviously, with our model, you kind of get an office designer as soon as you start looking for a leased office.
Mhm,
So that's great. I mean, that's the best way. But generally, I would say like the principle will be as early as possible. The earlier we're on a project, the earlier we're working with a client, the better.
mhm.
We do a level of work speculatively for clients we want to work with, number one. So it's no big deal in terms of like if you're doing test fits and working with clients.
To be
But
honest, I mean, that I think makes a big sense, and then that is a
mm,
big USP of ours. The reality is I'm out searching with clients. We might see 2 or 3 options they like,
yeah,
but, the reality is until you space plan and then get some costs, you don't really know if it's feasible or not.
for sure.
There's so many limitations to whether an office is actually right for you as a business. And
Yeah.
again, it comes down to that timepiece is actually if we're doing it right at the start of the process, you don't waste time with offices that were never right for you.
Yeah. It's also the technical element of that, like sometimes you'll go in a space and you're not a fit out expert. So you
Hmm.
might not see, say, the lighting or the power age or like
Hmm.
the condition of it. Whereas I'll walk in and instantly be like, this is not good space. Like the AC looks
Yeah.
15 years old, or the power doesn't have RCD protection. Like, all of these things aren't up to regs. So
Yeah.
that's why I just think the earlier the better would be my
Hmm.
overall advice. But generally, people, if say we're not doing the office search, people will get us involved at like heads of term stage, probably,
Yeah.
where like they're sure that, the 5,000 square foot office is right for them and they've made an offer that looks like it's going to be accepted. Then
Hmm.
they kind of go, right, think about legals are going to take 6 weeks. Design is going to take about 6 weeks. So let's get going now.
Hmm.
So as a guideline, heads of term stage is the latest, but still fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you touched on the age,
Yeah.
and actually I think that's something that gets overlooked at is that actually this is an old unit, the service charge is X, and
Hmm.
but you need to be mindful that this service charge might actually go up. I think one thing we do really well is, we validate, we check everything's working, etc. And we do a really good job that actually if we think that it's a risky sort of system or
Yeah.
old lighting that we would work to get a service charge cap and we would work to make sure that you are protected in the lease
Hmm.
from being stung with big fees later. I actually have an example is we have a client who took a lot of space in Moorgate and their service charge was capped at £17. They've now told me they want to take another floor in the building. It's great. But the problem is we looked at the service charge for the other floors and
Mm,
they're all at 21, £22 because they didn't have a cap. So
right.
the landlord just put up the service charge. Luckily our client is protected, but the
Yeah,
other clients weren't so due diligent. So
for sure.
there you go.
Yeah.
Can Well, it's a funny question. Is about and you're gonna hate this question, to be
Okay, go
honest.
for it.
How much does an office design cost?
Oh, like an office project. Look, anywhere we still do projects from like £40 a square foot.
Mhm,
I would say it's getting harder because the price of things are going up, particularly
mhm,
labour in London. But you know, £40 to £50 is like entry, but I would still say good. Like we can
mhm,
do really nice fit outs for that level. I mean, we pitched one yesterday at £52 per square foot,
mhm,
and it looks amazing. And there's lots of joinery, so it's like good value. 50 to 60, I still think is like really nice fit outs,
mhm,
you know. Then I would say anything like 60, 65 per square foot up becomes relatively high end.
mhm,
When I say high end, I suppose I mean like for the average person. Obviously, you've got like, you know, maybe private equity in Mayfair
mhm,
spending like £100 a square foot, but I would say that's an anomaly, really. I would say like for the average business in some ways, and largely the companies we work with, more down to earth, you know, you're looking at £40 per square foot to £60 per square foot. And this is just for the fit out. Like they're still at a great level. Like I think you can do loads
mhm,
for that money. Like £40 is definitely the lower end and tougher. But you know, anywhere 50 plus, like you'll still have a great project.
mhm,
And I think, you know, that's what I like about working like at Soul Spaces or doing our own things. I think other places I worked with, you know, you almost had to tell people like, oh, maybe you can't afford this. I was like, oh, you kind of can. You just can't with my
mhm,
markup and with us ultimately.
yeah,
And I love being able to kind of go like, we can still do something amazing
mhm,
for your budget,
yeah,
you know, and there's no reason why you shouldn't feel like your budget is enough
mhm,
as long as it is that £40 dish mark.
yeah,
Like, you know, below that is tricky unless, say, like they're taking a space that has already got flooring down by the
mhm,
landlord, or you know, the lights are in the right position or
mhm,
whatever.
okay.
But if it's like a clean fit out, like, you know, that level of 40 up is still achievable. We can still make it happen.
And can an office designer work on my existing office?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of what I call like in situ refurbishments. You know, that's what I call them. I don't know if that's the industry term or whatever, but in situ, and they can be great projects. I think the hard thing is you can't make everything old new.
Mhm,
So you have to be practically minded and like understand that, you know, we can't rip out everything. Often you haven't got the time or budget to do that.
mhm,
So, you know, you can't do that. But can you make a big impact? For sure. You know, can you often make a big impact for less money? Like I would say invariably doing an in situ refurbishment will be cheaper than moving office.
mhm,
Like you don't have the relocation costs, you don't need the new furniture, all of those things. So it will be cheaper to stay and refurbish like 9 times out of 10. You just have to be, yeah, like realistic in your mindset of what you're going to achieve at the end of it. It's not going to be, you know, brand new bells and whistles, but it'll be a huge improvement
mhm,
and still a great home for the next 5 years. So, you know, I would encourage more people to look at it in some ways. I mean, the difficulty is a lot of clients we meet need a new office for a very compelling reason,
mhm,
like we're growing or we're shrinking, right? Companies who are static and staying the same will often look at staying put and refurbishing. So it depends on your needs, but it's definitely possible, highly possible, and you know can be great. I mean, for us, it's quite good because you often see the before and after more.
mhm,
You know, with a new office, you move people in and they forget about their old office really quickly. You know, they'll
mm.
moan about something and you're like, do you remember your old office? How bad it was? You're like, this is amazing now. Whereas with the before and after, you find like you're like, wow, like this is an incredible change.
Mhm.
So we enjoy doing them, we're good at them. So we definitely should be doing more.
And lastly, what's the difference between office design and interior design? Bit of a funny one.
I mean, like, I would say that the bigger difference is interior design, I would say, is a bit more like dressing or like soft furnishings.
Mhm,
Whereas like office design is a bit more construction based. We're talking about building offices, building meeting rooms, doing the audio visual. I guess there's more aspects to it all. Whereas the interior element would be a wall finish, a curtain, a soft finish to like help the space, maybe dressing, etc. So you know, a good office fit out company do all of those things. There are companies who specialize in just that end of things soft, putting all the soft furnishings at the end of a project. But a good interior design company should really do it all.